the Marmalade spread.
Maybe you could help me. Usually I'm cautious. Am I told that I don't end the water? We do this all day. We do this all day. We do this all
We kicked that off with a line. We don't do this often. And this story, this guy, Align, he's actually just a guy, James. If you're walking down the road, be like, oh, cool. You know, he's just like a nice guy that you probably go and meet at a bar and everything. And then he gets on stage and he's just a different personality in every way. He's sat in this like EDM kind of dance world, but I met him actually at a show and he introduced me to earplugs as a thing at gigs. And if you just go to gigs and you don't get introduced to something like that, you don't realize how important that they are.
It changes your life.
It changes. It's so important. And I went to this thing called, it was a Sunday funky brunch, and it just had like dance artists. They had like 5 lined up on a Sunday from noon until fucking 2 a.m. And he played one of the opening sets, and we went in there and I met him. And he was just starting out his journey. He was in between working full time and building up his artist project. And we sat down, and after his gig, I was like, yeah, dude, this is cool. And there was like maybe 40, 50 people in the room, and we were chatting for a bit. And he said, what are you saying? And I was like, oh, it was great. And he goes, oh shit, sorry, I just had my earplugs in. He's like, you gotta get these. They're called eargasms. And I was like, what? Just the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I've just been following his career. I have a really good friend that's like mutual with him that we always talk about what he's up to. Whenever I see him, we talk about things when we're in Chicago, which beforehand. And he just like introduced me into a whole new phase of what like ear health, as well at the same time, like trying being a full-time like person working in the workforce and trying to do this as a career. So it's just a good little tune that I thought we start off with.
I really like it.
It was pretty good. Well, we're very excited. I'm so fucking pumped today. So today on the show we have George Perry. George, we met probably a year and a half ago, and it was only because I interrupted it like after a phone call that you had at our co-working space, and I'd said, hey, I'm Brandon, do you work in music? And you're like, yeah, let's I do, what do you do? Kind of thing. And George, I've just absolutely loved how you've been able to craft the company that you have now. You're a co-founder of the company called Trackstack, but you have a very different background into what it is now, and it seems like you've married a lot of your loves into something, and then now you've turned into a whole different world of running a company and what that is and how you be able to actually grow it. So we've become friends out of fate, and I've been very excited for you to sit with me and talk through some of these songs, but at the same time, like, hear your journey, because your journey starts maybe very differently in
Big
how you
time.
grew up.
Yeah.
So what was it like? What was music like when you were growing up, or was it even an influence in your life?
It's well, firstly, thank you very much for having me on. Obviously, it's been something I've been looking forward to as well. So thank you very much. And yeah, it's music is one of those things you don't really realize how it influences until you look back on it. And I had a very different upbringing to what I am now in the life I'm now living. I grew up outside of London in a small rural community on a farm, and that was very much the most of my life for the first sort of 15-16 years until I eventually went to university. And music was pretty much from my parents, so my parents always had a great love of music. I didn't really appreciate it until probably I left, and I realized that when I went to university, I met a lot of other people, how broad my music knowledge was. And, you know, I even speaking to my parents now, like my mum saw, I think in the space of like 3 years, she went to Michael Jackson concert, David Bowie, like Blondie, like all of these are amazing artists that obviously some of them are no longer with us, but they're just such huge musical influences. And, you know, we had CD and record collections, which I would just have on through just the fact they were in the house. And you know, you built up a knowledge of stuff that was probably, you know, what we call like not classic, but like retro music that's, you know, still lives with me to this day, and I still some of my absolute favorite music. And you know, I also started playing the guitar at age I would say probably 8. My primary school teacher, this guy called Steve Thomas. He was this Welsh. He looked like he was in the Hells Angels. He had this goatee, bald head, wore leather jackets, rode around on my motorcycle in this small village, and I thought he was the coolest person in the world. And
so did he. He also
he
definitely
did, yeah. He was definitely the coolest person in like the 20-mile radius we lived. And he used to, at school, he used to have this really cool acoustic guitar, and we used to do like assemblies and stuff. And he was playing guitar. Anyway, I asked him, "Would you teach me how to play the guitar?" And he used to come to my house every Saturday, and I just love. And what he did is he would be teaching me like heavy metal, but on an acoustic guitar. And you realize it's some of the most beautiful music and most beautifully composed. So like I had this, like even stuff like Avenged Sevenfold and some of these quite darker stuff, which I had like as a sort of 8-9-year-old, I just completely went over my head of like what the scene was like and the culture of this music. But when I kind of grew up, I was like, wow, it's such an amazing education to have, because I still love that music. And when I ever hear it on the radio, or sometimes I just put it on Spotify walking down the street, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. So
the nostalgia really hits you into your experience of those memories in so many ways, and I find that so fascinating, because of your experience in that world and that of someone else teaching you, it just can go and ripple into so many other loves into where that is. So outside of then, did you get involved in like the heavy metal scene? What was like the bit when you were younger, when you started like finding the music that you started liking?
So yeah, in some respect, I didn't go like fully in. I used to dye my hair, put it like that, and I used to,
Did you?
I looked a lot different. I was in, but you know, I think also that's where I kind of had my first taste of other, especially sort of touching that world. I had my first taste of other genres, a lot of rap, like Plan B. I used to love Plan B. He was a big and that's when I actually found acts like Chasing Status, and that's where I got into drum and bass. And that was probably my first dip into electronic music, especially coming from the West Country, which Bristol's a big hub for at the time dubstep, when dubstep was huge. And that was kind of when my co-founder Cameron, he was a dubstep DJ as well at school, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's kind of weird doing dubstep. But actually, it, you know, that kind of, I don't want to say it died a death, but it completely changed. And that kind of that's where I found a love for drum and bass, and that's where I really kind of went down the electronic road. But I think those styles of music, they have a certain intensity, and that's where I kind of grew to love the electronic styles from the heavy metal stuff, and
Yeah.
that like really reverby guitar and those sounds which are like, they're intense, they're not soft and melodic, although I love that now. It's been something, especially in that time of life, it was, you know, it was a quite an emotional indicator of where I was as well as a moody teen. So which
The
I'm
range
sure
of emotions that consistently swing.
exactly.
Well,
So,
it's interesting to see because Trackstack is pretty much an electronic platform. That's what you're focusing your attention on within what you're doing at Trackstack. And did you feel like that was an influence back when you started getting like becoming a fan of Chase and Status, when you started seeing the dubstep? Did you realize that that was maybe a love that you'll always have for a long period of time, that you may start a company that has a lot more focus in electronic and dance music?
yes and no. I'd say the first time I went to an electronic music event was at Motion in Bristol, and it's the first time I'd heard electronic music on big speakers, and it's just different. Like, it just gave me that, like, oh wow, I was so, it lived with me forever. And I was quite young, I think it was 19 at the time. And I was like, wow, I love this. Like, and I remember thinking at the time, I hope I'm doing this when I'm 30 and when I'm 40. And like, you look back on it now, I think maybe that was a bit naive, but at the same time, you think like, this is something that's going to be a passion of mine forever. And then when you find something you like, then it opens you up to everything else. And I think that was the thing for me, where although I didn't necessarily know I was going to go into it, because I had quite a different journey. Like, I studied politics at university, and one time I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to write, and that was what I kind of had my sights set on. And, you know, things didn't transpire that way, and ended up being an entrepreneur, which is kind of, no one really, I don't think anyone plans to do that in early on. And so when it came to the fact that we wanted to do an electronic music, it was a natural fit because of, we had a passion for it. And, you know, being able to go to events, being able to speak to people about something you felt so aligned and attuned to, and you could, like, we could sit here for hours and just talk about music and share stuff. And that's so powerful when you go and try and put your life into something. And you know, it's only looking back you realize you're committing so much of your time to it. You don't necessarily go into it being like, I want to just do this every day. And it was a natural evolution, but not necessarily something that was planned.
I think the unplanned bit is almost the thing that makes it the most exciting. And we were just chatting before we jumped on, and the fact of like, day festivals are kind of our thing now in a lot of ways, because the electronic scene is so much about, let's create a world, let's create a community, let's create something that you can disassociate for a long period of time. That is music in some ways, but the dance scene from like a festival perspective. And I think a lot of the times when you think about, you want to do this for the rest of your life, you have an idea of what that is, but that can shift so many different directions. And I feel like that's just such a reward in today's world in the music scene. And I've been really inspired by what you've done and built at Trackstack over the time, which we've talked about many times. And I think that already just layers so much of how you've grown up, and showing that you just want to be in that scene, in the thing, but do your own.
Definitely. I think as well, like, just like a lot of people I come up against in the industry, which I think is one special thing, is that you meet so many people who work in the industry now who are artists, or artists first, or have come up for a journey of being an artist. And although I learned to play the guitar and I had my musical journey, I wasn't an artist. And you know, I've always had a fear of potentially that's going to either hold me back, or I'm going to feel a little bit like I've got imposter syndrome. But to be honest, I've never actually felt that. Like, in some stages of like, it takes you to learn people's world, but like, everyone's always been very welcoming because of that, because first and foremost, it's about the love of music first. And that's that ultimately trumps anything, regardless of whether you've got a load of experience or whether you've made the music yourself. I
think that's so beautiful. And the people that already feel that way, pretty early on when you go and meet them in every which was a situation. So I'm going to move on to the next song, and because this is kind of a love of music for me, this is by an artist called Kiskity, for the most part. He did this together with an artist also called Ren Ocean, and they had some really cool opportunities come in. He wrote the song, they did all this, sort of pitching it for some different places, and it found itself on Anjuna 16, which is a massive move move for artists to be able to do if they're in that world. But I've known Kiskity, his name's Jack, for quite a bit of time now, and I just know his hustle. He really cares about what he's doing. He is very similar. He's from Jersey, the island of Jersey, and moved over to London to be able to really expand out his repertoire of who he is. He does a lot of like composer sync world, but his artist project I think just allows his like fresh of thoughts and creativity and dreams of things. So I'm just really happy to see him do his thing and get an opportunity to be on Anjuna.
I think that also that just sums up the the type of art. You've summed it up really well there. Like Anjuna have such a heritage of that style of music, and being able to pick out stuff that really, it has that kind of vibration where it's very free. It's about the art first and foremost. And I know the few of the team there, and they are, they're so focused on trying to like raise up artists like that, and it comes across that this why they've been around for so long. It's why they've got such an amazing legacy, and it's fair play to, because it must feel amazing to know that you've got to that stage, because it's a real accolade.
When you hear the song before someone like that says that's on our thing, like Anjuna and that world of stuff, like for me, I heard that beforehand and I go, this is sick. So for them to give that extra thing on it, it just means a lot. And congrats to all of them. So let's play in
Great.
Friendly Fire, Kiskity.
It's you and me. Repeating the history, the mystery, and know just how to be. Love finding the remedy. I'm giving all caught in friendly fire. Can we make it right? Can we make it right? Caught in friendly fire. Can we make it right? Can we make it right? I'm giving all caught in friendly fire. Can we make it right? I'm giving all caught in friendly fire. Choose not to see. Accepting reality. Caught in friendly fire. Can we make it right? Can we make it right? Giving all caught in friendly fire. Can we make it right? Can we make it right? Giving all caught Only one on the private story. No one else, just me and you. Took my time, you always knew. Trace my lips, you know it's tight. I guess that makes you mine tonight. Only one on the private story. No one else, just me and you. Took my time, you always knew. makes you mine tonight. No one else, just me and you. No one else, just me and you. Took my time, you always knew. Trace my lips, you know it's tight. I guess that makes you mine tonight. Only one on a private story. No one else, just me and you. Took my time, you always knew. Trace my lips, you know it's tight. I guess that makes you mine tonight. Just me and you.
All right, that was your first track right there. Mine Tonight, Josh Samuel. Ooh, we're getting going now.
Blow out some of the cobwebs.
Head was banging. We saw everybody in the room banging too. It was cool. And so, what about Josh Samuel? Why was this song like for you really important?
So Josh represents someone who I actually met, I think probably like 3 or 4 years ago at a Brighton Music Conference, and he was a young artist, came down from Liverpool on his own, and was like, I mean, super early in his career, like was just making tracks, like hadn't really played anywhere, was still like figuring it out, and just came up and introduced himself and said like, hey, I'm a fan of what you're doing, I've sent some tracks through Trackstack, and he was just a really lovely guy. And the reason why I look at him as someone who's important, and why I added his song and why I follow his journey, is because, you know, I work in tech, and a lot of what I do is code on a screen or seeing messages, and there's nothing that beats just going up and talking to someone and building a relationship. There's many ways in which we connected, and
yes,
you know, I've seen him do it, and now I see him having the success he's just done a show supporting James Hype, and he's like he's starting to see that trajectory of his career taking off, as well as producing some as you've heard, some pretty crazy music. Like it's hard hitting, he's got a lot of energy, and you know, I think when we look at like what Trackstack's become, I always say to people, like, it's great to send tracks on there, but like you don't just do that. Like it's a conduit for getting tracks to places and getting in front of people, but nothing will beat getting in a car or getting on a train or even a plane and going and being in front of someone, because they'll remember your face. And even if you say, hey, can I send you some tracks? Or, hey, I really love what you're doing here, I love your label. Like, people remember that. And I think all of the people who, you know, even the artists I've put on this list today, you know, they're people that I've met personally and had a real human connection with. And, you know, I just... I think nothing really beats that in this world, in this amazing world of technology and AI and everything. That's really a really pivotal point, which I don't think will ever die. Yeah,
you have so many options out into the world right now, and how do you sort through it? And I think that's the conversation that I'm always having with people over and over again, is how are you sorting through? And I think our brains really can't fathom all of these things. It's just more work and more people and more systems and more companies and more organizations. How do I connect with all of them? And it just gets exhausting over and over. but there are people behind all these
Yeah.
like or companies, organizations, and their brand, and what they want is that you understand what they're doing, or you at least have an idea where if you fit in a certain way, you have a specific area that you would fit in. So you've done a little due diligence. It's almost like you're applying for a job.
100%.
You want to know what the company does before you actually get in there. And I think that is really difficult to be able to know. So Josh is always going to be in your mind.
100%.
You will always think about it. Why it was the song that you've chosen today, because he was somebody that you really connected with and went maybe not above and beyond in so many ways, but he made a strategic connection,
Yeah, definitely.
which he didn't maybe even realize.
And also, just in that case, like, you know, I'm an introvert. I'm a software developer. So doing that, what he did, I respect people who do that. I find it really difficult, and to put yourself out there, especially because I think with music, your identity is so linked to your art. It's not like something you're and it is for most people who are making products that they sell, but like, especially for an artist, you're putting your heart and soul into something, and then to take that sort of action, I just have really admire people who are willing to do that, and to some people it comes naturally to, some people it doesn't, but it's such an important part of, you know, getting a kickstart in your career as an artist.
Yeah.
And, that's why I really admired him, and I, you know, like I said, I follow him on all his platform. I see what he's doing, and I just, I wish him nothing but the best.
I love that. Well, you're a big supporter. And I think talking about how an artist kickstarts their career, I'm really curious, how did Trackstack start? What was your career journey in meeting Cam, who's your co-founder, and being a software engineer? Because you studied politics, you just said.
Yeah.
Like, how did you become a software engineer and then start a dance and electronic platform? That's not really the Trackstack, but not really the track and the journey that most people would go on. What was your inspiration?
So Cam and I went to school together since I was 12 years old, and it's quite funny, we were not like close at school. We literally were just you know, we knew each other, we were in the same friendship circles, but not like best buddies. And it wasn't until we went to university where he's always been into electronic music, he was DJ artist, and that's when my sort of love for it really grew, and we actually went on a night out for someone's birthday in Bristol, and we called it a day early because I think they went to like Oceana or something. We were like, yeah, let's not do that. we went back home to the flat, and we just spent like 2 hours just putting on tunes, chatting, and like we're like, I like where this is going, and that's kind of where our bond first formed. And
Nice.
He's always been wanting to be an entrepreneur. Like, he just makes stuff. He's a real creator, and you know, he had this idea at university. He went to University of Southampton. He was doing computer science, and he came up with this idea about basically building Tinder for music. So you could swipe through, and you could listen to, so I want to listen to Acid House from 1997 to 1999, and it'd pull you a 30-second clip, and you'd be like, yes, no, build a playlist for you.
Oh, wow.
And such a cool idea, and people like I started helping him with a few bits and bobs on working with it, and it managed to get in front of Jamie Jones, who is a big electronic music DJ, who would later become our founder of Trackstack. But at the time, it got to a point where it didn't really, Jamie wanted to invest in it, he didn't. Cam said no. He was like, I can't take this money, because we were in just a very different, we couldn't code at the time, we were just Cam and George just living our lives.
Well, let's start Tinder for music,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And Jamie Jones is interested. Nah, not the thing.
So it got shut down, and we decided one night in Brixton, we went to see FKJ at a Electric Brixton, and it was for his birthday, and he put his hands on my shoulder and was like, if we want to fucking do this, we need to learn to code. And it was that moment, and we remember it so well, and we were like, yeah, we're going to do this. And so
that's so nerdy, like in the middle.
So nerdy, yeah. And honestly, all of our friends fucking hated going to raves and stuff, because we'd just be sat at the back chatting each other's ears, and like everyone would be like, guys, come on, we're here for the music, you need to come and get involved. And
that was your inspirational space, it sounds like.
Yeah, we would just talk for ages about all these ideas, and all our friends were like, yeah, fine, we're going to the front. You like, can I swear, by the way? Is that
yeah,
okay,
what do you want?
So we made that decision there and then that night. We quit our jobs, and on the 3rd of January 2017, we moved to Barcelona.
Wow.
And joined a coding accelerator, and we learned to code for 4 months.
Wow.
And came out of it, and then got jobs as software developers in London, and we lived that life for like 2 or 3 years, where we didn't like, we were still buddies, we still went out and did stuff, but there was no real like intention around starting a company. It was just like, we need to just live in this world and really understand what our craft is. And it wasn't until like 2019 2020 when we went out with some friends, another artist who's on this list, Dale Hart and John Neenan, who were, you know, that was the inception of the idea of Trackstack, where we were introduced to the problem of sending tracks. And that was where we had a conversation with them, who they made some tracks and they really wanted to send it to Jamie Jones's label operations. They were buzzing about it. They had this like spark in their eyes. They really loved it, and they sent them off. Next time we met up, we said like, how did it go? Did you get? And they were like, we never heard back. And like, they were so downtrodden by it, and so like the changes in emotion of being so excited to being down there, of feeling like I've just been like, I wasn't even given the space at the time of day. Yeah. Unfortunately, had the existing relationship with Jamie. Cam reached out to him and was like, what's going on here, mate? Like, why don't you get back to people? And you know, his response from the other side was like, well, I get 1,000 emails a week. Like how am I meant to? Like, so much music. He was getting his tour manager to go through them, make them in the playlist, and we were like, oh, okay, like there's a problem here. And like this is when our product brain switched on, and we were like, let's try and fix it. It coincided with COVID, so 2020 hit. Everyone stopped touring. Jamie was stuck in LA for 6 months, and we just sat on calls being like, so like, how could we build a tool for you that did this? And that's, you know, talk about timing, like whether it was divine timing or whether it was luck, like it just was that moment where he had all the time in the world to just download his brain and into a tool, and then we built it, and then got to the stage where we kind of launched it into for him, and more people came towards us, and it just grew from there. And that was the real, and we'll get onto Dale later, but and what he represents in terms of our journey. But last year he got signed to Jamie's label. Crazy, like 8-9 years on, and it's like that. It just has that through line of like, oh, we were a part of that, and we've built something that does provide those opportunities for people, which is amazing. Like, that's why it doesn't feel like a normal job. And you know, doing it with one of your best friends as well, like someone you've been on a journey with since childhood, through making these crazy life decisions, quitting your job, moving to Barcelona, and really getting into like taking risk, and then coming through the other side of it, and then saying like, we're going to start this thing, going to one of the biggest, most respected DJs in the world, and say, hey, we want to do this as, you know, like 25-year-olds, 26-year-olds who, you know, we like blagged a little bit. We didn't know how we're going to get it off the ground, and you know, really trusting that we could figure it out, because it's what we've done our whole lives. And that was, you know, that's kind of been the journey together, and it's been fantastic. It's been hard along the way, and it's really been you know, we're still learning, we're still developing our own relationship as founders as well as friends, but it's been amazing. It is really a dream come true.
The trust that you had through that entire story, it didn't have to be something where you looked at each other and said, I need you for this in any which way. You just found that parallel growth at the same time, and just had the same people that saw that within you. You take risks all the time. People take risks on other people and saying, oh, they're going to be great. There's so much potential here. And the majority of those people that you even pick out that have the potential to actually do what they're doing becomes even more minute from that. But it really feels like Jamie knew when he kind of saw that first app in some ways that you guys had something that was special, but it was up to you of building that relationship with one another, you and Cam, really understanding each other. And I really love that music was that inspiration for you. You were at the club, you were at shows, you were at environments where that was the inspiration. And I feel like the more and more that I start doing that now, that is where I'm at. I love watching the shows and participating in them, but I don't need to stand there and be like, yeah, that was great, and singing along every single song that's going on. I'm actually watching so many other things that's inspiring to me.
It's inspiring.
And how to bring, how do you bring that to the people that you work with on a regular basis, whether that is a tech company or an artist that you're working with? And I feel like that story that you just shared, in which you had to just drop everything previously and say, let's just fuck off and go to Barcelona. Let's just see where it is. We probably spent quite a pit on the beach. At the same
we
time.
did.
But just, but wouldn't you want to have it that way?
It was amazing.
Then
Like,
having to like sit in, I mean, I'm sorry, but like you didn't have to sit in the UK to like go and do a coding camp. That was familiar to you all.
Yeah.
So going somewhere new was probably something really inspiring too, is that the world is so much bigger. And I do know that like coming up, you're going to Ibiza to go to the big conference and festival that they put on IMS. So that world seems like it's consistently just kept being a part of who you are.
Yeah.
I love that you have like this really nice duo collaboration with Cam, and that you have such a journey. Like, you would only dream of having somebody that you know for such a long time be in your life and do things together.
Yeah. And it's I think speaking to other founders, people who are trying to go through some sort of entrepreneurial journey, it's like, I always say it's our secret weapon. It's that level of trust that we have built, and we have things about our own lives. We're very different people, and sometimes it butts up against what we're doing as founders, but there's always this trust that we always have each other's back. We always try and make the best decisions together, and we always give each other the space to do that. It's the hardest thing when you're trying to find a co-founder, and having that such a long backstory is really I think it's the heart and soul of the company. And we make a lot of decisions not on data, not on things that other people say, but just like, does it feel right? Like we kind of use the story of like okay, fast forward 20 years and we're writing a book about this.
Yeah.
Like, what do we want to go in the book?
Wow.
That's like the Barcelona thing. Like you said, we could have just done it online. We could have done it in London or wherever, but like, hey, like, let's get on a plane and do this crazy thing. If it crashes and burns, then like, at least it's a cool story to tell. Yeah. But, we're going to back ourselves that it isn't going to crash and burn. And, so far, fingers crossed, like, it hasn't. And it's having that, and also doing it with someone. It's so scary when you're going through anything on your own and taking these risks, but when there's someone beside you who you can look at and be like, are you good? And he's like, yeah, you're good. And you're like, well, at least I've got my buddy here. And those sort of things, that's why it's been, I think Trackstack has worked in the way it has, because we are together, and we've done it as a duo. Well,
you've built that from the base and the foundation. You can't really plan some of those things at all. And it's just, hey, mate, let's just keep doing it over and over and over again since you were young, 12 years old.
And also just doing it in like the amount of decisions, like big decisions, like boardroom level decisions we've made at the back of raves is like
amazing,
crazy. Like it's that sort of thing which you're not going to read in any sort of MBA books or like business books. It's like, sometimes you just got to do the thing that feels right, and that's been a pretty good guiding light for us so far.
So we should throw the chart away and go to raves and make decisions.
Go feel it, go live in that level of like pure dopamine and serotonin, and where you feel great and you're being inspired by music and you're free, and that's where the best things come, because you get excited. A lot of it's throwaway, a lot of it's, but like usually you pick out a couple of things and you're like, hey man, do you remember what we spoke about? And it's like, so like, let's go and do that, because that felt really good at the time, and if it still feels good 24 hours later or a week later, then chances are you should go and do it. It's,
Someone told me you can't make a wrong decision, because in a moment, if you have two things to decide between and you went with one of them, there was something that weighed it more. Had to do that. So there's no way of making a wrong decision.
Exactly.
Which is so spectacular. So we're gonna move on to our next song. Do you want to do a little intro on these two guys?
I mean, you have given me the track title, which I am gonna absolutely butcher, but I think it's called Baila Ladigo. My Spanish, Italian, Latin American languages I'm terrible at, but it's by two guys, Kai William and James Paul. Both of these guys know pretty well, and Kai especially, and they've just got, we'll talk about it in a minute, but they're just super dudes, and this is on Kai's label, Anhera, and it's a really cool, bouncy, summery, Latin vibey track that's just, it summarizes house music for me, really.
Perfect time to what we're living in right now. Well, please enjoy.
body, don't stop. Shake your 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 body, don't stop. Don't. Shake your body, don't stop, don't resist. 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 Shake, 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 shake your body, shake your body, don't stop, don't resist. 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 Shake, 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 shake your body. Shake your body, don't stop. 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 Don't resist. Shake your body, don't stop. Shake your body, don't stop. Shake your body.
So are we getting burgers after this one? Because that was Shake Shack, Caleb Jackson. We got to get some of those crinkle cut.
Yeah.
Guys, some shakes, all that in between.
It's Friday, man. You can do it.
Let's do it. What's gonna happen? I mean, that is like fucking one after another. You just don't want to stop.
Both of those tracks, I didn't realize, but they're both on Kai's label and Hera, and
Sick.
they're just groovy, man. Like the first one's very Latin American, like imagine you're on a beach in Cuba or Miami, and you're like, you got a nice shirt on, you got your sunglasses, you got a cocktail, and you're like, yeah. And then this one, like Caleb's got, so man, like talk about a guy who's just got this aura around him. He's a Kiwi guy who lives in Australia, but he's really making a name for himself in Europe, and you know, people have kind of said like maybe he's the next Seth Troxler, like that sort of vibe. And he's just got a lot of energy. He's got an amazing, not even, I don't want to say brand, I kind of distills it down into something that's just not, but like his whole style, the way he looks, the way he talks, and he's just the most lovely guy. He's got amazing backstory, and he's someone who I really respect because he's taking himself out of an environment in this very like it's very small in Australia. It's got a very small and insular scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but he's moved from New Zealand, which is smaller in a
Even
lot of ways. So
and bringing it into, and he's being signed by like Antera's a New York based label. Like he's really spread his wings. He's come to Europe. He's done a lot of the taking the leap of going moving to Berlin, and I just love his sound. I think he's got such creativity, and like you heard it in that song, it's just cool. It's fun.
Yeah,
and you know, I think sometimes a lot of artists think too much about like they lose a bit of connection when they're going through their artistic journey of like just doing stuff that's fun, that makes you feel good and smile, and that's both of those tracks do. And you know, I just going back onto Kai and James. So Kai's a good friend of ours who's, you know, he's based out of New York. He's just moved to LA. He's got this amazing journey because he's really bucked the trend of someone who's just been like, I'm just gonna focus on the music, and he really illustrates what Trackstack is becoming, I think.
nice.
And you know, we started as this label that was we started as this platform that's based around sending your music and receiving music, and it was this core function. And it's been, obviously it's got us a long way down the road, but it came from a place of like just trying to get your music heard. And that's why James kind of is I'd say the first stage Trackstack, and Kai's the second stage, because James represents someone who just had a mission, just wanted to get signed by Jamie. He sent over 300 tracks through Trackstack to Jamie Jones, and like no one else. He was just like, I just want, and then he got signed to his Hot Tracks, and then he got signed to Hot Creations, and he like just had that like hell bent on this, and it's all he cared about. And now he got to that stage of like, oh, what's next? And now he's spread his wings, and he's got this amazing, he's really picking up in the US, which is not unheard of for UK artists. There's obviously such a creative export of music in the UK, but he at the stage of career, it's not like a massive touring artist. He's still in that stage where he's lifting off, but he's decided to like, hey, I'm going to focus on the US because that sound that I'm bringing is really resonating there at the moment. And you know, he's collaborating with people like Kai on this track, which is a really beautiful track. And but then also like he's, you know, I think he's recently been signed or been supported up by John Summit, which is he's a guy based in Leeds in North England, and he's being played by an artist who's like one of the biggest electronic music artists in the US. And you know, both of these guys, and Kai in his stage, he's really entrepreneurial. He's taken he said like, I'm not going to follow the normal route of just being signed by labels and waiting to get pulled up by the bigger artists to come to the lineups. He's like, when it started his own label, started his own party, and someone like I use as a poster child to be like, be more like Kai. Take your destiny into your own hands and go and do what Kai's doing, because he now has his creative freedom. He took the choice to move from New York to LA because he was like, I think that's better for my career. I'm going to focus on my sound here. I'm going to focus on like not the style of music, but like my events. And he's doing like a developed event, which is about artist development, which is helping other artists come up. And it's like, man, like if that's living as an artist, because he's got this freedom to do what he wants through his ability to look through at some of the economic levers, the unsexy part that's allowed him to do it, rather than just relying on others and waiting, because it's a lottery. You know, maybe 1% end up getting Ibiza seasons and they get pulled up through. So it's you know, those two artists I think are really good representation, and they're also good friends. Like Kai's amazing. We've pied with him. He actually got us invited to probably one of the coolest parties I've ever been to, and I was just like, it was a private party in the basement of the W Hotel, and I'll leave it there. But it was like, oh, this is one of the perks of working in this, and I was just like, this is amazing. So you're
like, I think I'm gonna stay doing this.
I've
made it, Mama. I've made it.
I was like, if my friends could see me now.
For that coding bootcamp I did. Look at me now. I love that. Well, that speaks, I think, massive volumes of you and Cam's relationship of building Trackstack so much, where you've shared that you complement each other so much in what you're doing, but at the core root of stuff is you have to evolve and figure out what the actual evolution of a company is, a platform is, and being able to be in electronic space, like that is moving so quickly. Like the world of electronic music, a lot of it is not words or lyrics, and if it is, that's not the main core bit of things. So it is the feel, it's the vibe, and it's so universal. Music is universal, but I feel like electronic music is even more universal because you can communicate so much easier to people. And I feel like I've met people in dance music from all over the world that I've barely spoken to in the same language. We've just been vibing together at festivals and dance and stuff like that. But your platform of stuff is to be able to connect to people globally. You've just shared incredible stories right here. Was that always the journey? Was that always the goal? How what was like the transition of building a platform like this? And why did you do it? Why was Jamie Jones so important in facilitating these things?
I mean, that's the thing, is like these are all byproducts of things that you don't realize at the time. And you know, when we went down the journey with Jamie of like building the initial thing, the initial tool of just being able to send your music to a label or a DJ and have some sort of feedback, like the bar was so low in terms of what people were. They were doing it on email, DMs, and they were like giving this structure. Just the biggest thing we didn't realize, and I think Jamie was so influential in this, is actually looking at what access feels like. Because if you live in London and you're from a relatively wealthy background, or you've got the resources to then go out to Ibiza, you might be able to get in a DJ booth and meet Jamie. But if you're from South America, you still love his music because it's so worldwide, but you don't never have that access. It's expensive. Like the thought of actually flying across and then taking the risk to even get the chance to have 30 seconds with him,
Sure.
it's really difficult. And you know, I think that was one of the things he said to us, is like, I want to be more available. I want to give people the chance. He's in his 40s now. He's still very much at the peak of his powers, but he's not. He understands himself as a custodian of the industry and like what it means to artists, because he was once in that position.
So
I think people forget is like these guys that we and girls that we idolize at the top, they were once the backing singers, they were once the warm-up DJs, they were once these artists who hadn't even been signed or supported yet, and
living off of sandwiches from one to the next and like barely making it through, probably some of them.
100. And Jamie told us a story of like, well, he's actually, I think he did a short documentary about it, where he was from West Wales, like really rural community, came to London. He used to spend the night on the, like, I think it was like a Novotel or a travel lodge, where they would get in at 3 o'clock in the morning and they'd sleep in the hallways. They didn't even book a room, just so they could afford, like, that's all they could afford, just because they wanted to be in the scene and get into it. And so he really saw the value in being able to go take on this project and like build it with us, and trust that we could like hold that responsibility of the relationship between the artist and the DJ and label, and bring it into something which could be spread across the world. And we see the best stories we hear from people when they get supported from someone like him, or even some of the other DJs and labels we have on now. It's so powerful. Like, you hear what it means to them as an artist is huge, and that, I think, has been the biggest influence he's had on the journey, is us respecting that relationship, because it is the core. It all starts with the track. Like, you can't have any of the other stuff without the music, and that's why it's almost sacred. Like, you could almost use it in a religious context of like why the relationship between the person who's created the art and the person who's then also using it in their art as a DJ, or someone who's then signed it, is really, really strong and important. And also going back to like what you said about like some of the unintended consequences of how it's connected people, I think that was seeing how the online of someone sending a track and then what it translates to offline. We know these guys up in Manchester. They run an amazing label called Libero. It's very Latin dance. It's really, really nice house music.
Up in Manchester.
Yeah, up in Manchester.
Love that. Love it.
They've been booked to come play parties in Colombia, because there's a scene in Colombia that are like, they love Libero, and it's connected those two groups of people. It's not to say it's just all from Trackstack, but it's something that we've helped facilitate just for the fact they use our platform for their demos. And those are the things where it transitions off into becoming just a tool, into something where we look at it as a platform now, where the relationship that you're building and the contacts you're creating, your professional fans, we call them, like, we have to put a name on it and start to use a nomenclature that's about how, like, you talk about these relationships that form, but they are the most important things, because they lead to the things that the playing of the music out to the world, the shows, the sets. These are the things that are actually like we're doing it for. And sometimes
Nice.
you have to get out of the code and
Sure.
the features and think about like, okay, how can we facilitate better relationships on the outside in the real world?
Yeah. When you're an artist and you're trying to figure out what to be able to do, you're like, okay, I found Trackstack. I found a platform that does all of these things, and you're continuing to innovate and evolve into what the next phase is. But from a baseline, like being able to understand that you can potentially connect the dots between a community that you would never have an opportunity to just by making a profile, uploading some songs, and searching through your entire database. The amount of labels that you probably don't even expect
100%.
exist in there. You're like, whoa, they've worked with all of these other people. You've built a massive amount of, it's a data
Data
company in some ways, where you have this directory community, this culture of being able to really try to bridge that gap within things, because you could be a massive fan at a festival and being like, wow, Jamie is my idol, which seems like one of the artists on here.
Yeah.
It is. And going and saying, that is my North Star. That is what I'm working towards. And your goal of being able to say, yes, you could send to one artist every time, one label every time, but also there's so many other emerging labels and artists and DJs and magazines and like different people that feature things on your platform, that you are this connective hub where you can just sign up, and you may not get direct access right away, but if you continue to lean into these different things, this is a community that people know, people are a part
100%.
of.
And also I think it is like, we talk to some of the people who have the best, I say the best results, and it's not necessarily, you can get signed to best labels and played by the biggest DJ. That's fantastic results. But what we see is a lot of artists that connect with other artists on their level. I hate to use the word level and hierarchy, but like they connect with others that, they're not necessarily the most popular, that are receiving the most volume, but people in their cities, people who are playing the same, very similar sound to them that they wouldn't have otherwise discovered. Because that starts to form these relationships that are, one of the guys who actually works for us, Oscar, he started doing this with a guy he lives in Barcelona. He's sending some tracks to someone in Barcelona through the platform. They meet up in person. They collaborate on a track. He's done the same. He's a Spanish speaker, so he went and found other Spanish speaking countries. He sent it to a guy in Guatemala. Heard his they were like, come out and play. They flew him out to Guatemala to play. And it's those sort of things where I think that's been the most powerful thing. Yes, you can go and get signed by the headline DJs and played by them, great, that was the intention, but the byproduct is actually being that you've got this place where you look at the group of DJs who are going to be at the top in 10 years time. They're currently in a stage of their career where they're still making it, and they're connecting with the other people on their level and bringing people up at the same time. And you hear stories about the guys that are now in their 40s. They were doing that offline in clubs, in raves, where they were connecting with people like, hey, let's make a track together, or let's start an event together. It's the same thing, and I always implore people to go and try and do that with other people around them. Not necessarily sometimes first, but at least do it at the same time, as well as trying to send tracks to some of the biggest guys.
It's about the scene. Can you get involved in the scene? Can you be able
create your own scene?
Yes.
Do
that,
man. You probably see it as much as we're the one thing about the UK, it's easy to get around. You can go from Manchester to Leeds in less than an hour. You can go from Bristol to London in an hour. It's close. In America, imagine coming up in rural Montana. There's gonna be other people who like house music in Bozeman, and imagine being able to connect with them. But let's put on a party, and all of a sudden 40 people show up, and you're like, hold on a minute, we've got a little thing going on here. And you see it happening. We see it now happening a lot in Japan, in South Korea, in Thailand. These scenes are starting to emerge because the connectivity of not just through Trackstack, but through the internet, where people are realizing, oh, there's a guy who lives 2 blocks down from me that is making the exact same music as me. None of my friends do, so I'm going to connect with him, and all of a sudden that's a connection that's made, and then that's the sprouting of a new scene that other people will be like, yeah, I love that.
Wow. You've just sparked a thought that I didn't realize was real until you've just said that, where we're getting so convoluted with technology and having to be at the thing. What is the thing to be at? Because I need to post that on social media to tell you that I was at that big event, or that like person who's trending right now, I was a part of those things. But there's also this whole other swing, which I feel like is just us as a generation of people. You consistently see that shift over and over and over again, where you collect and connect to those people that you just resonate with, and you want to be able to develop those things that matter to you the most and can grow in that way. And it is almost this rebellion feeling of, we want to do our own thing, we want to be able to cater to these people, and how do we do that in the best way possible? 100%. I love that. We're kind of going maybe a little too extreme in both ways, but as a society, because I think of the access that we have. But what you've just shared there, like the curated bits that you've had with all these different artists and songs that you've chosen, like that all comes from the community and culture that you've built. And like dance music in itself is already a close-knit community from a like creative side, so an artist side of things. But then as from a fan side of things, that is like, you got to know how that works. Because if you're in, you're in. Like, they will welcome you with arms. But if you're not willing to commit and understand what that is and lean into those things, you do feel like you're a little bit on the outside in some ways.
And also, I think the discovery aspect about dance music, the difference between going and watching a live artist who's, you know, a vocalist who's singing on a stage, like the timeline of when they're producing tracks is, you know, it's months and years of albums, and the schedule's very different. But like, you can go to a DJ set and discover 50 songs in an evening of new artists, and then you're sharing it with someone and be like, hey, I've heard this new guy, he's got like 30 followers on SoundCloud, but have you heard this track? And it's like, there's this shared, like, no one's going to a Dua Lipa concert and be like, here's this like bootleg from Dua Lipa from 2005 that I found it, and it's like, that's the I think is the difference of this. There's this level of like closeness and automatic connection that you can go and be like, hey, I found this track, isn't it great?
You don't realize that when you just join a platform, or you just say, oh, that's cool, I need to go and do that now because someone told me to do that now. So I think being able to understand the depths of where things are at, you definitely have the intention. People need to know more about it, one. And two, I do feel like that is such a niche bit that you've done it from the core really well. So I want to move on to the next song, and I think Dale has a really good story that you want to tell about the platform.
100%.
So I'll let you just take it away before we start off with the song.
So this is Only You by Dale Hart. He is a close friend. He's someone who we've seen the journey of, like, really, as I spoke about earlier, the inception of Trackstack. Of he was the person who was trying to send tracks to Jamie, and getting to a point where he's now been signed by Jamie's label years after, and his journey of being like trusting in himself as an artist and just keep plugging away, and then seeing him now really get his flowers, and not just being signed by Jamie but a lot of other key labels. And I think like this track really summarizes what his sound is. And you know, I probably not, I don't know whether I share this publicly, but like, we speak to a lot of very influential people, Jamie being one of them, and Dale's name comes up as someone who's like someone to what, like the quality of his producing, which 3-4 years ago you wouldn't have said that, because he didn't really know, he relied on someone else. And I think that is such a special thing to see one of your friends do this. And I just it's amazing to see. And you know, we're very lucky to get to see the progression of artists like Dale. So I'm really excited that I can, you know, we can be a part of his journey, but also, you know, seeing him make tracks like this. So this is a fun one.
It's personal, which I love even more. So enjoy Only You, Dale Hart.
You ready?
All right, The Chase.
To the Chase by Hartley. Hartley's got a cool story. She is based out of Dubai. And she is, I think, is a representation of someone who's trying to do it in a place which is new and fresh and trying to get a scene off, help be part of a scene that's just getting off the ground. And, you know, there's a lot going on with Dubai at the moment, but it's still a place where, you know, there's a lot of expats, there's a lot of people from all over the world, and they bring a love of music to it, and that's where you get new scenes come in. And you know, she's really pushing it. She's making some great tracks. This track was on a label called Mood Child that's run by Cyrus Hood and Manda Moore, who are two amazing artists in their own right. And they've got amazing system going. They've got amazing strategy going with their label, where they just do all these VAs. It's like the old school Fabric VAs, where they just get a load of artists. They do EPs, but a lot of it is just like, okay, we're going to put together 15, 20 artists that we love all these tracks, and they're just reviewing tracks on tracks like all the time. And they've almost turned it into a little bit of a meme culture so like they're posting stories but like, send us tracks, but like, or declining demos right now. It's like, send me more demos to decline. And it's like, it's turned into a bit of a joke between like a lot of people who follow them. But they, last year at IMS, they won like Label of the Year, and it's a cool, like, it's just, I love what they're so creative. They've got an amazing, like, they're a couple as well, and everything about them is awesome. And you know, we've got a really cool personal connection with Hartley. We actually had her on the podcast very early on to talk about like her journey of going to Dubai and like actually taking herself out of the UK and bucking the trend of what a lot of people would do. And I just love her music. She's a great person, and you know, she's someone who's quite close to Trackstack, and that's why, especially with the label, I wanted to kind of mention it and bring that, because they're two sides that we see come together. And you know, this is what it's about, like putting records in a place where they get to be heard and celebrated by two groups of people who are in different stages of their career, and putting to something that people can enjoy. So
being able to connect the dots usually sometimes just gets fully pushed under the rug. A lot of people think about, like, from an A&R side of stuff, it's like, oh, I thought this producer and this artist would really get on, and they make one of the biggest hits ever in the world. But from a micro level to a middle level to a massive like level, you sometimes forget who is that connector in a lot of ways. And I really love that you've just shared that in that exact phase, because they're both going on their own journey. They're both facilitating their own thing. This is a song that they both liked. They connected. They liked each other's kind of vibrance and understanding, and went with it. And I find that really fascinating with the music industry now. And you may not even know what's going to happen. And now they've won Label of the Year within there.
I know.
And Hartley is a part of like that whole culture.
And you've probably seen this as well. Like, sometimes the art can be a little bit secondary, especially when labels are concerned, especially when like strategy, and you start talking about a lot of the business around the music. And I think why Mood Child's so special as a label is because they kind of said, like, you know, fuck the release schedule. We're not going to just say like we're going to have 12 artists throughout this year with all EPs. They're just like, no, let's just release as much music that we love.
Amazing.
They listen to it and they say, yeah, we love this as possible, and just being like, let's just put it out and
let's help these artists.
Like
we specialize in X, the artists specialize in X. Let's come together and make this into hopefully helping other people discover this music.
Exactly. Because also, like, how many times you must have come up against people being like, oh, we like this guy, but you know, he's not got 10,000 followers on Instagram, or his streams are a bit low, so we're not going to make that. We're going to make a business decision, not an art decision. And I think, like, you know, getting back to the fact that, like, is this a great track? Is this a great body of work? Should we just put this out because it deserves to be out and let the rest take care? I know we don't live in that world. Like, there is a commercial aspect, but like, I think Mood Child proves that it is about that. And there's they also do another thing which is really cool. You see on Spotify, they created an artist called Mood Child, who's part of every track. So it grows its thing. So whenever you see Mood, it just acts as a point of discovery. So you see all these collaborations with all these artists, and that, like, you see Mood, and all of a sudden there's hundreds of artists on there you can also discover. So
it's their own playlist of things, and
it
their own label.
And they're just putting it out on label, and you know, they're doing it as like focus art first. Like, that should be, if I was telling people how to run a label, art first, that's raw. It's like Fight Club. No, we're all number one.
I've just taken that note
Yeah.
down.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of like all these different artists and where things are at and like building the synergy and like building a platform that you're this glue, but also the glue may not stick every time, but it is hopefully going to be cemented. You've probably like dealt with some things that have gone wrong. And also you've had to probably navigate what that looks like from building as an entrepreneur, a music fan, being able to separate the business from the actual art in a lot of ways. Do you have a story or like what's the biggest lesson that maybe you've learned as an entrepreneur now that maybe things have gone wrong?
yeah, I mean,
That sticks with you?
we've had a lot. 2025 was a massive year for us. We went from a team of 4 people to basically taking a few people having like a few hours with us to building a full team of 11. And yeah, it was a lot. And like being really honest, they like almost broke the company. Like, December was a bad month for us personally. It put our relationship as founders under massive stress. It kind of put us in this soul searching stage. And like we had 2 weeks over Christmas where we took time away and like spent it with our families and tried to recharge and just like really think about like what we needed to do. And part of that was cutting some people out of the team, and that's the thing when you run a small business, is that you really get to, you hire people because you like them as people as much as you do as what they actually bring to it. And everyone who works for us is, I'd like to say we have good personal relationships with them.
Nice.
If I didn't know them through the business, I'd hope to say that I'd be friends with them outside the team. But
Yeah.
When you have business decisions to make, sometimes that's hard, and you have to let people go, and that's been so tough. We've done it I think 3 or 4 times now, and having those conversations, but also trying to learn that you got to treat people with the same respect and dignity that you would want to be treated. And I say fortunate, I've had to learn that from being it done to me in a way that degrades how I feel, and so trying to do it differently for other people. But then also like the decisions you make along the way, like there's never one, like to borrow a Jeff Bezos theory or framework, he always talks about one-way and two-way decisions. And, two-way decisions are, if you do it and then you can always get back on it, you can change it. And they're the ones you just do quick. You just take the decision, you can always change it, it's fine, you can just roll back on it. The one-way decisions are the one you want to take weeks and months over and really deliberate over. And I think we've been fortunate enough that a lot of our one-way decisions they've worked out, either with the people we've collaborated with, the people who we've brought into the team, or ended up making decisions about the business model. They've been tough decisions, but they've so far worked out. And I think going back to like the hardest things, I think one of the things to balance is the fact that we're in an industry that is not purely about money. It's about a lot of subjective like decision making, and we see the rejection. Like 95% of the music gets rejected, and that's so hard,
and it hurts too. It feels personal.
God, yeah. And I really admire people, the fact that all these people who come to Centrax, because not only just to make that piece of music, but then to feel like you've got enough of like self-worth to then come along and say, I'm going to send it to someone, and then for that to be played for a couple of seconds, and then someone to be like, no. Like, and then to get back and do it again and again and again. And that is like, I'd say our biggest, it's the thing that it doesn't keep me up at night, but it's the thing that it's not a problem that will ever be solved, because that is just something so inherent to music. You're not going to be in a position where the no ever stings a little less, or it isn't something that chips away at you as an artist. But what is important is saying like, okay, like how can we manage and put some more boundaries around it? So like we took the decision recently to limit the amount of tracks that people could send, because it was getting so bloated, like hundreds of thousands of tracks a month, which were, we want more people who are listening to music to take the time to listen to it where they can. But so, making it a little bit more thought-provoking when you are an artist, where you say for free you can send 20 tracks a month, but that's still a lot. Like you can obviously send it, but it's also, it does make you think. And I think that is one of the things we want to make people realize, is like, we don't put these boundaries around just to make us earn more money so you upgrade. That's not why we do it. It's to make you think about like, really, are you ready to send this track? Like, is this the one you really want to put in front of people? And also to give people on the other side an experience where they're hearing better music and they take the time to do it, because, you know, we see both sides. We see the artist side who get really frustrated when people don't listen to the music, but we also see the guys who get thousands of demos and they're just like, I'm touring around the world, I'm tired, I get a limited amount of time in the studio. All of these, I don't want to say excuses, but they're the reasons why. And, you know, we can only do our best to make it as easy and as pleasurable, because it should be a pleasurable experience to listen to other people's music, and you know, making it feel less like a chore and more like it's something you enjoy doing is a product theme. Is like, if it doesn't align with that, we try not to do it, and that's been a lot of the reason why we sometimes don't make decisions, or we don't choose not to do things, is because like it should be focused around that first and foremost. And I'm always, if there's one number I look at, it's like, what is the review time? It averages about 30 days at the moment, which is all right. Like, people are busy, but you know, if it starts pushing up that, it's like we're doing something wrong. Like, it should be going below that. And you know, a lot of the artists that understand that, they accept it and they say like, okay, well, there should be a bit more strategy around how I'm sending. I shouldn't just blast it to everyone, and I should be thinking about like, where do I want to align my sound? Who are the relationships I really want to focus on? And if I had a limited amount of opportunities, what would I do? And that's the I really want to like communicate to people. It's like the opportunities is something you should think about. Like, think about your tracks as opportunities, not just as not like in the same way you send an email, but like send as a mini. But like, okay, I've got this, imagine being like, I've got this pitch at this record label, I'm going to go in and with my music and we're going to sit on this. Like, it should feel a little bit more like that, where you're being like, yeah, I'm ready for this opportunity. I'm ready to step into that. And that's like is something that sometimes the smoothing of technology sometimes takes away that, whereas 20 years ago it was about that. It was like, handy your USB stick over where you only had there's room for 5 tracks, so it had to be those 5 that you picked, or a CD, or I wrote. But going all the way back, it was all about the limitation of the sending was the thing that actually lended you to be taking the opportunities, looking at them a little bit differently.
Your tech is too good. It's too seamless. It's too like
it's too
easy to use. But I love your ethos. It's quality. Like, that's the thing. And I think that every step that you've just shared right there is to be able to really have people think about, you can make a million tracks. You can always be making more and more and more and more. But what are you actually sharing with people? And I think ultimately, if you're going to write a book, you're going to really put some effort into that. Music is a little bit easier to be able to do. If you're making a film, you're going to put a lot of work into that to be able to make sure that the story is crafted in that way. So if you're going to create some music, it doesn't have to be a finished idea in every which way, because you want to collaborate with people, but you want to get to a point where you actually are believing in this and want that for a specific place. I don't like the comment where someone says X and then I want to like double over that. But Daniel Presley is a big entrepreneurial focus of like, he's written a bunch of books and now he coaches entrepreneurs on building their business a little bit more. And his whole ethos is about it's being an entrepreneur is a story of 1,000 pitches. And if I'm totally honest, in the music industry, it's 100,000 pitches. Like, you have to be so good with literally getting 10 of those as a yes. But the more that you keep going after it and after it and after it and after it, that growth of like yeses start becoming a little bit more, and become a little bit more weighted in what the opportunities are, and you start feeling like that is the world that I want to be in. This feels right. It's also easier in a lot of ways, but until you do 100,000 pitches, you don't even know who you are, I feel like, a lot of the time. So being able to have this experience where every month 20 pitches in that way, you're getting your reps in already in that way, because you have to take every pitch as the most important pitch, as you said, in your life.
I heard a really, really cool quote about this, which kind of summarizes it. Is, if you knew that you were going to get signed after your like 100th failure, those 99 before, you'd be happy to be. You'd be like, cool, well, I'm just on the way. And that's kind of it, is like, you know, you'd
be celebrating everyone.
You would. You'd be like, oh well, that's another no. I'm on 85 now. There's only 15 more to go. And that's kind of it with this industry as well, because it is. And even I think one of the things that's tough is like, 15 years ago, you had a big hit on one of these labels, you would go and get, you'd have the path up, you go in to play
Totally.
shows. You then maybe get an Ibiza season if it was a really big hit.
Yeah.
And now it's like you maybe get a week of a label releasing a track and or it getting supported where it hits like TikTok and then it's the next one. It's like those opportunities are, I don't want to say they're worthless, but they spend less time being something that you can rely on, and so you have to have more in the competition. So it is like having that thick skin and just be like, look, I'm in this for years.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wade through, and every no is still a stepping stone for me to go and move my career forward. And you know, it's a really hard thing. This is sometimes it makes me want to be an artist less and less. Doing this and watching other people go through it, because it's a relentless pursuit of failure that eventually leads to a point of either complete decompression where you're just free to the fact that you're making art, or you quit. And that's the sad thing about what I think, and when you apply an industry to an art, is you're always in this push and pull between these two often opposing sides. And it's a shame, but it's like that's the reality we live in. And you know, artists, hats off to them, man, because it's a hard endeavor. And you know, if you really want it, it goes back to you really live in it and you really want it, then you'll make it in your own way. It's
becoming clearer and clearer, I feel like, every month now. If you want this to be a business, you need to dive into that 100,000%. No manager, label, publisher, agent is going to do it wanting to do it more than you. You have to want that even more, and pushing all of those people if you have any of those people. If you don't want that, if this is not a business, it's a hobby, and that's fine. Just do it as a hobby and don't put the levels up in that way and pressure, because that then is less about you, but the people around you feel that way. And then being an artist business is very different than just playing music and playing shows and just chugging along and making a little bit of money doing that thing.
You said that to me. Our last conversation, you said, like, you know, the artists you see now, a lot of them come along and they just don't work hard enough on what it's almost like they don't want it enough. And I think that's a special thing when you see someone who's just hell bent on it and they're like, I'm gonna go live with mum and dad, I'm gonna put everything else aside, I'm just gonna go for it, and they work their asses off. Because it may take a year, it may take 5 years, it may take 10 years, but like it will happen. And that's the thing, is when, and you know, you've seen it with people you've worked with, you've had the perspective of seeing across multiple careers, and I think that's one of the biggest takeaways, that you can't instill in someone. You have to, that real fire, that real passion to do it is something that is, you either have it or you don't, and that's okay. Like you can be a hobbyist and you can just run along with it and do it as something that you love, but like if you really want it, you'll find a way. You will find a way every single moment. And I think what we speak about a lot of the time is like, how do you help facilitate that from the business side? And then how do we separate in the personal side of things? Because you're a music fan first, so am I. I want to champion artists as much from the business side as much as just being a fan of what they are. And I think we started speaking a little bit about, like, I've made a playlist every year of songs that I really, really love that have attached to me, and every year I'm getting less and less added to the playlist. And I think it's, as you actually said to me in that way of, it's not the quality that's going down, it's that your ears and your taste is just shifting, and your quality of level of stuff of what your ears are perking up to is less and less and less. And that all stems from this next track, which we kind of started talking about, which I'm very excited about, because this is a well-known group, like pretty globally, but yet this is a very specific song. So I'll let you kind of tell a little story about it. So this is a Confidence Man track called Control, but it's a remix by Liverpool-based producer called Paige Tomlinson. She's got a very high energy sound, and this track, I think, like, it was like my track of the year last year. I listened to the whole album of the remixes, because I love what Confidence Man are doing, and I listened to the remix, and there's a big range from drum and bass to some more techie stuff and this just stood out, and I had this on repeat, and this was just I love everything about it. I think she's done an amazing job here, and I can see, like, you know, this is the track I'm really looking forward to finishing on, because it's it will have me bopping. But so yeah, she's awesome as well. She's got a really cool image. She's got a really cool brand. She's doing really well at the moment. She's been touring a lot, and she just makes some great music. And I think this is an absolute highlight for me.
Well, personal feeling, I think trumps every single time.
Yeah.
Of being able to do that. So this is George's favorite track of 2025
Yeah.
and probably sounding like 2026 right now. This is Control, Confidence Man, but remixed. Paige Tomlinson. Enjoy.
now, easy now, easy now, easy now, easy now, easy now. Hear when me talk, but not heed me now. Straight to the part that I feed this one. Music speech, you know, even though just easy now, easy now. Hear when me talk, but not heed me now. Straight to the part that I feed this one. Hear when the one them want.
All right, if you haven't been to a Joy Anonymous vibe, like this needs to get you going. That
So
is
good.
that is Joy, this one, and it just was released this year by Joy Anonymous, Ezra Collective, and Stush. If you don't know the Joy Anonymous journey, like these two other collaborators on the song, in their own, special. So to have all three of them on this one track that Joy has really put together, really, really special. For me, Joy Anonymous was actually such an entry level to the UK when I first moved here. I was a fan of the last song that we have, Fred Again song.
Yeah.
Just a big fan of Fred. Discovered him when I was living in America, and then I started seeing that this duo was like always hanging out with Fred, and I was like, who the heck are these guys? So I went to Fred Again's show and I saw them open, and I was like, okay, interesting. I'm like really into this, and I've always followed them for the last like handful of years. Obviously Fred and the Joy like group, they're really, really, really close, but on tour with Fred for quite a bit of time. But I've always kind of connected to that, and I find it really interesting. Like, there's a core group of Fred Again fans that have become massive Joy Anonymous fans, and they go all the time to the Joy stuff nonstop. And I feel like they have grown so spiritually because actually they got their moment on the south. It was across from the South Bank on the north side of the Thames River, and they started doing these like one day a week in the evening during sunset. They would have people come down and they just put on some live music and have a little like
That's very cool.
beach party in a away.
What you gotta do, just
exactly.
like be grassroots about it. Just
Yes.
come and play some music somewhere. People will come.
People will, and they'll tell their friends, and they'll keep coming.
Yeah,
And if you build the consistency up, you start having hundreds and hundreds of people
Yeah.
start seeing you. So they've just been like so fucking cool. I love this song a lot because, and it's just nice that it's new because of the collaborators on it. So I just thought I'd be able to kind of play that around.
I do feel like just on this, I feel like some of the people around Fred that is, you know, like he's collaborated with Sammy Vergi, Chris Lake, like a lot of people in, you know, my world that have represent very different sounds that you would never think would collaborate together, and then he's almost like the person that brings them together, and you know, so it's a recognition of good music regardless of what flavor or subgenre it is, and it's produces some really cool stuff. So yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, it was really sick. Well, I know you're gonna jump in even more after this. So before we play our last track, like George, I think the way that we've met was just needed in that way. It was serendipitous. It was had to happen. And I do think like our now friendship, I would say, is so congruent to like building things and creating things. And even though we do it differently, I think we think so similarly. Talking about like how you've developed a platform, your product and your business for what your brand is. But you personally, I think has so much of that similar ethos that we both share. We talk so much about being an entrepreneur, being a leader in that, being able to make decisions that matter, but doing that all just reminding ourselves like it's music at the end of the day, and like people love music. Like it is a infinite game of just consistently loving and loving and loving music. But for you, what is like a lesson you've learned that you just sit with all the time as this lover of music, as a business founder, owner, being a guide in this world? What is something that you just really want people to know that matters to you the most?
It's interesting. I don't want to get too profound here, but I was listening to Dave's We're All Alone in This Together album yesterday, and he has a line in one of the tracks which is like, if it's getting really hard, you're really close. And that's like a, you know, in anything you do in life, whether it's running marathons or starting businesses or making music or relationships, it's like, you know, when things are getting really hard, you know, you're probably onto something, because not many people choose to do hard things, and when you do choose to do hard things, usually the reward at the end is getting close, and you just have to keep going. And you know, some of the hardest things and the moments where you could turn back or stop or, you know, really not persevere are the ones where I look at those moments and think, you know, if we'd have given up then, God, look at what we'd have given up. And sometimes it is just about trying to see it through, even when it feels really tough, even when you're in like particularly bad headspaces. It's like just push through. And I don't want to be someone who sort of celebrates the grind culture, because it's not even about grinding. It's about being able to be like, no, doing hard things, it comes with up and downs, but it means when you do have the ups, the rewards are so much higher. And it not just like monetary, but like the feeling of like working towards something and seeing an outcome. Like you think about like how many people, especially in today's world where we have everything so instant, throwaway, dopamine comes so quickly, and you know, being able to offset a little bit of pleasure and go through some pain to get something, like, man, there's nothing better than hitting a goal, like a goal that you set for yourself at the start of the year at a certain time, and then going a year down the line, 2 years down the line, and then hitting it and being like, fuck, I did that. Like if you want to feel good about yourself, if you want to build some self-esteem, if you want to make yourself feel like you whatever it is that like that inner trauma or that inner child that says you're not enough, like those are the things which I say to anyone, like just take the time to do it. Because, you know, looking at everyone who's been through, like a lot of the great sports stars, a lot of the great like entrepreneurs, like, you know, you can get to the top of the mountain, but it will feel empty. And I'm like, no, by no means at the top of that mountain. Like I've still got a long way, but it's the journey you go through along the way. It's like, it's so cliche, but it is that level of like, yeah, the hard is part of it. Like you will enjoy the hard when you're through it. Like going back to when we were in Barcelona, man, we were coding 6 days a week, 9 a.m. through to 9 p.m. We were in this coding bootcamp every day for 6 weeks. We had one day off. It's fucking hard. It was like brutal. And me and Cam were living in one big room.
Oh my gosh.
Cooking together, and it was
zeros and ones and
zeros on, you were dreaming about code, and it was like at the time you're like, fuck, this is hard, but like man, wasn't it the best time? And like sometimes the hardness of the difficulty and the struggle is the thing that in the moment you might feel like, I want to give up, this is horrible, and all the negative emotions, but like I promise you in a year's time you'll look back and be like, wasn't that great? Like I remember the early days of Trackstack we talk about so fondly of, it was just me and Cam, we were coding after school, after work, at lunchtime, like taking as much time as we could out of our work day to work on it. We're just trying to get to 10k so we could pay ourselves money so we could work on it. Like God, that struggle was so simple, it was so clear what we needed to do, but it was so hard, it felt like it would never happen. And now the problems are different, they're bigger, like there's a lot going on, but I look back at those days of fondness being like, that was fun. It was like, it was what it's about. And you can look at a figure on a bank account, or you can look at a invoice that you've or like in the number of subscribers or the number of tracks, like that's empty. It doesn't mean anything. The thing that means something is holding on, like building yourself something that you can look back on and tell your kids about, like write a book about, like that's do the hard shit, do the stuff that's and I always try to make decisions with a little bit of that in my life, like what's this going to look like in 20 years when I'm telling someone about it, like if someone gives you the opportunity, don't say no to stuff, like those sort of things which can be easy to bypass as just day to day, they end up being the thing that was the most powerful. So
echo. The hardest part is sometimes the thing that really is that breakthrough.
And man, like not many people are doing hard. We get shown all the people who are doing hard things, and life is hard. And so when you get the opportunity to do something and take on something that's very difficult, like go head first into it, because life is awfully empty when you've not got those things.
So true.
Like that is the thing that sometimes gives life a bit of meaning.
Amen. Sign me up. Sign up, George. It's been an absolute pleasure. You are a big inspiration. I think we see things in a very, very similar light.
Definitely.
And I cannot wait for way more to happen between us, but also just for everything you've built and everything you will build down the road, because you're a creator, you're a builder, you're an engineer in a lot of ways. So
well, thank you very much, man.
Off to entrepreneurialism.
Back to the grind.
Yes, 201 maybe. We'll move up to it sometime soon. We're going to end with, I think, my favorite song of the year. It is Fred Again, and it is with Jamie T. This song, Lights Burn Dimmer, has been something that has been, as you had control, the Paige Tomlinson remix. This song has been on my over and over
big
again.
Shout out to Jamie T. Sheila was one of my favorite songs growing up, and it's just so like I didn't know what happened to him, and to see that he's back, like that's fucking cool. So thank you.
Well, this is for both of us then. We'll just end together. Enjoy Lights Burn Dimmer.
Thanks, man.
Remember that night at the Hippodrome? Never knew that look when you look at me. Nervous as hell, so I didn't win a lot. You're the salt, I'm the lemon on the top. Heart quickened, south of the river. Mouth full of Vinny, sitting cans full of liquor. Street light flickers, feel it in my blood. Any which way I turn out, the lights burn dimmer. And heart quickened, south of the river. Mouth full of Vinny, sitting cans full of liquor. Street light flickers, feel it in my blood. Any which way I turn out, the lights burn dimmer. And 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 any which way I turn out, the lights burn dimmer. Heart quickened, south of the river. Mouth full of Vinny, sitting cans full of liquor. Street light flickers, feel it in my blood. Any which way I turn out, the lights burn dimmer. Heart quickened, south of the river. Mouth full of Vinny, sitting cans full of liquor. Street light flickers, feel it in my blood. Any which way I turn out, the lights burn dimmer. Out to fuck, no more love, no more love, no more love. Hatred is start, heart stinger, dead man ringer, new number, doing shots. I hardly ever turn up to see my mates. I hardly ever turn up to see my mates. Heart quicking, south of the river. Mouth full of Vinny, sitting cans full of liquor. Street light flickers and the lights burn dimmer. And the lights burn dimmer. And the lights burn dimmer. And heart quicking, south of the river. Mouth full of Vinny, sitting cans full of liquor. Street light flickers and the lights burn dimmer. And the lights burn dimmer. And the lights burn dimmer. south of the river, feel it in my blood, feel it in my blood. Sitting south of the river, sitting cans full of liquor, feel it in my blood, feel it in my blood, feel it in my blood, feel it in my blood. Any which way I turn, and the lights burn dimmer, 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 and the lights dimmer, and the lights burn dimmer, and the lights burn dimmer, and the lights burn, lights burn, lights burn, lights burn, lights burn, lights burn dimmer, and the 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 ligh